Hello and welcome to this basic macroeconomics revision course. I am your teacher Muhammad Nadeem Sarwar. Today we start our third topic, which is the determination of national income from Keynes' point of view. This is our first lecture on this topic. The reference books for this lecture are Macroeconomics by Robert J. Gordon, Macroeconomics by N. Gregory Menkev, and Macroeconomics Theories and Policies by Richard T. Freund. In this lecture, we shall first discuss the background in which Keynes presented his thoughts. Then we shall discuss the simplifying assumptions, the main points of Keynesian theory, the aggregate demand and aggregate supply, or the planned expenditures and actual expenditures, the consumption function, saving function, and the determination of national income. We shall also discuss what happens of the equilibrium and the mathematical derivation of equilibrium level of national income. So, let's start with the lecture. Students, Keynes economics developed against the background of Great Depression of 1930s. The effect of depression on US economy can be seen in this diagram. This shows the annual unemployment rates for the year 1929 to 1941. And we can see that the unemployment rates rose from 3.2% of the labor force in 1929 to 25.2% in 1933. The 1933 year was the lowest point of economic activity during the Great Depression. The unemployment rate remained over 10% throughout the decade. We can also see the growth rate of real gross national product. The real gross national product fell by 30% between 1929 and 1933 and did not reach the 1929 level again until 1939. Students, the high unemployment in Great Britain led to a debate among economists and policymakers over the causes and proper policy response to increased unemployment. The British economist John Maynard Keynes was a participant in this debate. During the course of this, he developed his revolutionary theory of macroeconomics, which he presented in his influential book, The General Theory of Employment, Interest, and Money. According to Keynes' theory, the high unemployment in Great Britain and the US was the result of deficiency in aggregate demand. According to him, the aggregate demand was too low because of inadequate investment demand. Keynes' theory provided the basis for economic policies to combat unemployment by stimulating aggregate demand. He favored fiscal policy measures, primarily government spending on public works projects, to stimulate aggregate demand. Keynes and his fellows argued that such actions would increase output and employment, as these expenditures would act both directly and indirectly, because they would increase the income and hence consumer expenditures of those who were employed by these projects, thus generating secondary employment. The central specification is that we assume for the time being that prices do not change at all. The firms are willing to sell any amount of output at given level of prices. Thus, the aggregate supply curve is assumed to be entirely flat. The basis of this assumption in Great Depression, when there was too much overproduction, the prices were too low, but the purchasing power was absent. Firms made huge losses, therefore, they shut down their businesses, which generated high unemployment. Thus, too much labor was ready to work without demanding for increase in wage rate. So, the cost of production might not change even if the firms increase the level of output. This fixed cost of production provided the basis for fixed prices. We also assume that exchange rate and interest rates are fixed. All these assumptions are made for simplification. Later on, we shall relax these assumptions gradually. As told, J.M. Keynes presented his ideas in the backdrop of Great Recession. The main points of his theory are: the economy is in equilibrium at a point where aggregate demand is equal to aggregate supply. This equilibrium could be at full employment, below full employment, or above full employment. If the equilibrium is above full employment, it creates inflationary, whereas if the equilibrium is below full employment, it creates deflationary pressures. Government should play its role to draw economy out of inflationary or deflationary gaps. And the effective demand, which is the aggregate demand, is of primary importance. Students, the aggregate demand is the total amount of output demanded by all the sectors of economy. It is the total amount of desired or planned spending expressed in current currency units. It represents what people want to buy. On the other hand, the aggregate supply is the amount that firms are willing to produce at any given price level. This is the actual spending. For the two-sector economy, aggregate demand is equal to C plus I and aggregate supply is equal to C plus S, where C is consumption expenditures, I investment expenditures, and S savings. In three-sector economy, aggregate demand is C plus I plus G and aggregate supply is C plus S plus T, where G and T are government expenditures and net taxes respectively. Whereas in four-sector economy, aggregate demand is equal to C plus I plus G plus NX. NX is net exports, which is export minus import. In four-sector economy, we have aggregate demand and aggregate supply equations. Now let's discuss each component of these equations. First is C, which is the consumption expenditures. Students, consumption expenditures means all those expenditures which are made with the purpose of obtaining utility. The relationship between consumption and income is described by consumption function, which is consumption is a function of disposable income. The general linear form is where C alpha represents autonomous consumption. This is the part of consumption which is independent of income. That is, it is the portion of consumption expenditures that are there even if income is zero. Second, C into Y minus T, which is induced consumption. This part represents that portion of consumption which depends on income. Here, small c is marginal propensity to consume, which represents the change in consumption due to 1 unit change in disposable income, or it is the ratio of change in consumption to change in disposable income. An example of consumption function equation can be seen as graphically. We can translate this equation as where the autonomous consumption of C alpha is and the MPC or small c represents the slope of consumption function. Students, the factors that affect autonomous consumption are: number one, the interest rate, as when interest rates are low, the borrowing is cheaper and consumer can increase his or her spending without an increase in income. Example is the low interest rate during 1915 to 1917 stimulated consumption for consumer products in Pakistan. Second is household wealth. Household wealth is the total net value of all household assets that include the total value of house and possessions such as automobiles and financial assets such as stocks, bonds, bank accounts, minus any debt. If the wealth of household increases, the household can increase spending even if the income stays constant. Next is the status of financial market institutions. Well-developed financial market institutions make it easy for consumers to borrow and purchase comforts and luxuries. Last is market sentiments. If market sentiments are positive, that is, consumers and firms are confident that in future economic conditions will be better, the consumption may increase without an increase in income. Now the saving function. Listeners, saving is a part of disposable income which is not consumed at present. Mathematically, now substituting C in this equation yields, simplifying further, we get which can be written as where S alpha is autonomous saving, which represent savings at zero income. As we know that at zero income we have to make some expenditures. So we finance those expenditures from past savings. This is why we have a negative sign. The small s is MPS, that is the marginal propensity to save, which is the change in saving due to 1 unit change in income. Graphically, we can present it as we take investments and net exports as fixed. This is because we assume interest rate and exchange rate are constant. Therefore, the government expenditures are also assumed to be fixed exogenously. So, next are the taxes. Taxes are the payments made to the government to finance government expenditures. There are different kinds of taxes. However, we consider income tax mainly. We can make any of these three assumptions. The autonomous taxes only, that is, only fixed tax irrespective of income. The induced taxes only, that is, the taxes that are linked to income. And both autonomous and induced taxes, as shown in the diagram. Now that we have discussed all the components of both aggregate demand or planned expenditures and aggregate supply or actual expenditures, let's draw aggregate demand and aggregate supply curves. First, we have aggregate demand curve. As we know, the aggregate demand or planned expenditures are equal to, substituting C, we have now we have combined all the autonomous parts and named it AP, that is autonomous planned expenditures. Therefore, in this diagram, the intercept represents AP and the slope of this curve is small c. Similarly, the aggregate supply or the actual expenditures, which represents the total output of the economy, it is 45-degree line. The equilibrium is where there is no tendency for change. This happens where aggregate demand is equal to aggregate supply. Remember, as per Keynes, this could be at, below, or above full employment, contrary to classical economists who believe that economy is in equilibrium only at full employment level. Now, what happens off the equilibrium? Students, when aggregate demand is not equal to aggregate supply, there is unplanned inventory investment or disinvestment. When aggregate demand is less than aggregate supply, the unplanned inventories are positive. Firms cut back on their production until output and aggregate demand are again in equilibrium. The mathematical derivation of equilibrium level of national income can be seen as That is all for this lecture. In the next lecture, we shall discuss the multipliers. Please post your questions and give your feedback in comments. Also consider liking and sharing the video and